Okay, so how on earth does a company that just made hardware for gamers end up powering, well, a whole new industrial revolution? That is the wild, improbable story of Nvidia, and we're going to get right into it.
I mean, it's really the story of a niche video game company becoming one of the most valuable on the planet. And, this whole thing didn't start with some grand master plan for AI. Not at all. It started with just a fight for survival.
Yeah, over $2 trillion. That number is just staggering. And to really get how Nvidia pulled this off, you first have to understand its founder, Jensen Huang. Today, he's basically seen as the most powerful person in the entire world of AI.
Which brings us to our first section, shovels for a gold rush. And really, it's the perfect way to think about it. You see, Huang is kind of like the modern-day version of the guys who got rich during the 1849 gold rush. Not by finding gold, but by selling the shovels.
Except, instead of shovels, Huang is selling these $30,000 AI training chips. And let me tell you, these things are the essential tool for today's AI gold rush. The demand is so insane that there are wait times over a year, and there's even a black market where they're selling for double the price. Crazy, right?
Okay, Section 2, the boy on the bridge. Because to get here, we have to go way back. And Huang's story, it doesn't start in some fancy Silicon Valley garage. No. To really understand the guy, you have to go back to a reform school in one of the poorest parts of America.
So, picture this. He's a young kid sent all the way from Taiwan to this institute in Kentucky. And his classmates said bullies would stand on this swinging rope bridge and try to shake him off, hoping he'd fall into the river below. But look at what his classmates said. It looked like he was having fun. It's like right from the start, you see this core trait just shine through, pure resilience.
And his early life was this whirlwind journey. Born in Taiwan, then moved to Thailand, and finally to the US. And everywhere he went, he just crushed it academically. He developed this intense focus that really would become his signature for his entire career. He even met his future wife, Lori, as his lab partner in college.
All right, Section 3, a $0 billion bet. And that resilience we were just talking about, man, he was gonna need it. Because the founding of Nvidia itself was just this massive, incredible gamble. And the whole thing famously started, not in a garage like you'd expect, but in a Denny's.
Yep, a 24-hour Denny's in San Jose, complete with bullet holes in the window. That's where Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem met up in 1993 to hash out the whole plan. Each of them chipped in an equal share. And the name they came up with? Nvidia. It comes from the Latin word for envy. Pretty humble beginnings for a company that was, about to change everything.
So, here was their big unconventional gamble. Step 1, they saw a huge problem coming. This thing called Moore's Law, the rule that said computers would basically double in speed every couple of years, was dying. Computers were about to hit a wall and stop getting faster. So what was their solution? Well, this was the gamble. Step 2, they decided to create a whole new type of computing, parallel computing, for a market that, get this, didn't even exist yet.
Exactly. It was a bet on what they called a $0 billion market. Think about that. He wasn't trying to sell something to people who already wanted it. No, he was basically building a baseball field in the middle of a cornfield, just hoping that one day the players would show up.
And this is the best way to understand what they were building. Think of a normal computer chip, a CPU, as a super precise kitchen knife. It's great at doing one complex thing at a time. But a GPU, the kind of chip Nvidia makes, that's like a Cuisinart. It's designed to just chop up a mountain of vegetables all at once. It does thousands of simple tasks simultaneously. It's a completely different way of thinking.
Okay, so here's where the story gets really good. Section 4, when two revolutions collide. For years and years, that Cuisinart, the GPU, was really only used by one group of people, video gamers. But then, two completely separate, kind of forgotten technologies found each other. And when they did, everything, and I mean everything, changed.
The first piece of the puzzle was something called a neural net. It's a type of AI that's inspired by the human brain. But back in the 2000s, this idea was basically a joke. It was considered a career graveyard, a dead end.
And the second piece? Parallel computing. That's the whole Cuisinart idea, the very architecture Nvidia had bet the entire company on. And at the time, it was still just seen as this niche thing for high-end supercomputers and, of course, video games. And then, in 2012, they collided. It was this massive breakthrough moment.
researchers finally realized that these two dead-end ideas were actually the perfect match.
It all came together with a neural network called AlexNet. Some researchers were training it to identify images, but instead of using a slow, normal CPU, they decided, hey, let's try using a couple of Nvidia's gaming GPUs. And wow, the parallel processing power made the training ridiculously fast. AlexNet didn't just win the 2012 ImageNet competition, it absolutely demolished the competition. And that was it. That was the starting gun. The AI revolution had begun, and Nvidia was literally the only company in the world ready to power it.
And that brings us to today. Section 5, Building the Thinking Machine. That AlexNet moment is why we're all talking about this now, because NVIDIA's tech is now building what people are calling the thinking machine. And that, as you can imagine, raises some really big, profound questions about where we're all headed.
And this is where we get into the great AI debate. On one side, you have people who say this is humanity's greatest tool, ever. It's going to solve everything from climate change to disease. It'll create an age of abundance. But on the other side, you have people, including some of the folks who created this stuff, who are worried it could be a massive risk to our very survival.
And there are real costs right now. I mean, look at the energy cost. A simple AI search uses 10 times the power of a regular Google search. Writing an essay with GPT-4, 200 times more. The demand for AI is so huge that data centers are now being built that need the same amount of power as a nuclear reactor. That's a gigantic challenge for anyone who cares about climate change.
And through all this debate, what about Jensen Huang? Well, he stays completely focused. His motivation, as he puts it, is simple. I do everything I can not to go out of business. He kind of dismisses all the pessimism and seems to be driven by this core belief that AI is, without a doubt, a force for good.
So, the thinking machine is here. What happens next? NVIDIA's incredible journey really shows you how this wild mix of resilience, making bets that nobody else would make, and, yeah, being in the right place at the right time can literally change the world. So the machine is built. It's here. The only real question left for us is, what's it going to do?